What's going on, guys? Back to Raiden Radio, and boy, this book was made for somebody, but it ain't me, babe. But Fleeced, How to Die versus the Black Ice. Mailing list is ongoing. Link is going to be in the description. So yeah, the history of violence. I don't even know where to begin. Let's look at the cover right here. Okay, so what do we got here? We got yeah, it's a Google image search. We got guy holding an axe. Okay, we got some bad dudes and some guns down here. But look at this right here. This okay, we got a cheerleader. I read this entire book, and there's not a cheerleader in it. Not like I was really looking, angling for one. But yeah, so we're missing that right off the bat. Um, so this is a history of violence. Black and white art. The art is great. Really minimalist. You can see here, very expressive, very emotive. All right, so there's some bad guys. Got some bad dudes doing some bad things. I mean, look at down here. Like that's it's okay. So it's setting up like a really grim world. Good world building. There's nice landscapes here. So like the art, I'm definitely not going to knock it. Okay. By the way, I've talked to maybe four people about this book, and everybody I've talked to has said they know this is a movie. They don't even know of it as a book. So I'm not even sure. Like, is this a cult thing? Is this like a cult hit or something? I never heard of this book until the movie, which is pretty much what I've seen from everybody. Okay. So we got some people, they try to rob the store, and okay, so yeah, if you see the movie, you know this. The guy owns the diner. He does a little like Jason Bourne kind of thing, takes out two robbers. We're off to a really good start. Like the first act is really good at setting things up. Um, it's kind of like going out to dinner and they give you like a really nice wine, and then they just kind of pair it with some like those cheesy peanut butter crackers. Because we're off to an amazing start. There's this guy. He's a small town guy. He runs a diner, and it sets up the question like, who is this guy? Like, how is he able to do this? What's his story? Everybody wants to know. He won't talk to anybody. And the problem is that like once you get outside of the first act, um, all of the explanations that are used, it's basically like the writers had like a good idea going on here. The problem is that the idea fairy kind of left the room before he explained everything. So the explanation for everything in this is just, it's no short of like just being dumb. But again, look at the art. Getting all of this out of black and white. Like it really is. Like even the kid right there, he's you look here, he's making a stupid face, but other than that, it's very evocative, it's very emotive. Very little drawing up here. And then when you pan out to the house, they throw everything in the kitchen sink. I don't know what's going on here. Looks like a robot behind the curtain. So anyway, here's the explanation. Who's this badass? How does he's living in a small town. They realize they don't know a whole lot about him. So here's the explanation. You ready for this? One time when he was a kid, he got into a fight. Him and his buddy or his good friend, he got mixed up with the mob. That's this dude here. They killed his brother, so his friend has the idea that we're gonna kill these mobsters and take their money, and then we'll just run away, just flee life. Okay, then the problem with that is that it doesn't really explain how he was able to fend off these two stone cold killers. So it's like the payoff is just nowhere near as satisfying. Like it would have been better not to know at all than the way the writing answers the question. So he kills the mob guys. We have a good scene. God, this art's so good. I don't care. I don't care how minimalist it is. I mean, those two cars. Is that a parking lot? Okay, maybe it's not as good as I'm saying. So they end up going to the big city. The guy basically has to answer for his life. He participated in this killing. He ran away. He killed some mobsters. And he has to make amends for it. So he goes to New York. He talks to the district attorney. I'm still, as I'm like looking over this again, I'm still looking for the cheerleader. I don't. Maybe I did want a cheerleader in here. So he goes to New York. And he has this big run-in with the mob. Or with the son of the mob boss that his friend killed. And maybe because some people have like hang-ups on like military things or police procedural things. And maybe I'm just saying this because I've known a few guys, but like the way they portray the mob in this book is just like, it's silly. Like it's beyond stupid. So the mob boss, so what happened is him and his friend, he killed the mob boss, but his friend they got him, right? And I think he lost a thumb or something. God, look at that. Look at that skyline. I realize I'm like trashing the writing while I'm hyping the art, but I really enjoy this style. I think it's a book that coloring would actually make it worse. Yeah, so now we're getting into the backstory here. There's his friend. They're gonna kill the mob boss. Look at this art. So he ends up going back and he ends up getting captured by the son of the mob boss that they killed when he was a kid. Okay? And you ready for the dumbest thing ever? They still have his friend. Oh man. They still have his friend. He just always assumed that his friend, was killed like 20 years ago. And that's a good assumption because that is actually what the mob would do. But this weird, like, just beyond silly depiction of the mob as being the kind of people that would, like, kidnap somebody and torture them for 20 years. Like, come on. Like, it's beyond reason. And it's like, even if you have, I understand this is like a gritty comic world, but like that's beyond anything. Like, even if your only knowledge of the mob is, Scorsese movies or Sopranos, like you at least understand enough about the mob to know that, they're not torturing people. They're not holding on to them for 2 decades. Like and even if you're going to say, oh, okay, well, there's other mafias out there. Maybe it's not the Italian mafia. You have like cartels and things like that. Like cartels, the whole point of that is that they're sending a message. They have like way more power where they operate than the Italian mafia does here in the U.S. because the cartels are operating in other countries. The law isn't as judicious. They hold a lot more sway. So they can do like some outrageous shit. But that's the point, is that it's outrageous because it's sending a message. Secretly holding on to somebody for 20 years, like that. Not only would that not happen, if it did happen, whoever orchestrated that in the family, like it wouldn't even matter where they are in the chain. They would be like on a meat truck in Davenport, Iowa by the end of the day, because you're putting like the whole organization at risk. So yeah, I know it's a gritty comic, but like the fact that it's a story about something as simple as a guy in a small town running a diner, it undercuts the entire story. Like the setup is how real the story feels, and once you stop believing the narrative, it totally pulls away from the work that the first act and this art is doing. But if you want a story that won't let you down, Birth of the Black Ice on Indiegogo, mailing list, sign up. You're going to get a lot of cool little fun things just for being on the mailing list when you back. And here, I'll show you a couple pages here. So, getting the most out of black and white. I actually read this book, and I read this book while I was right after I had finished writing the first issue of How to Die. And so when I started looking into art and artists, I wanted to kind of go for the same thing because the art, I don't know if it was just because the art was so much better than the story, but it grabbed onto me. And so let's see here. Yeah, so here's some previews for the interior of How to Die. Not doing just the straight like line drawings of that there, but yeah, this is what kind of came out of it. Just trying to get the most, like this here, trying to get the most out of black and white to tell a dark story, which if you like horror, I would definitely recommend this. So I would like to thank you for turning in. Check the description for the How to Die mailing list. Feel free to sub if you're so inclined. And I will have more reviews and some other cool things coming up the pipeline. Thanks for tuning in.